Hello everyone, Dymo here for zeroclockgaming / JustAGaming blog with a new episode in the weekly podcast. Now, this was supposed to be a podcast where we had multiple people, but unfortunately they kind of backed out at the end. So that means that, once again, I am on my own, and it kind of throws away the whole plan I had for what to talk about. Because of course I wanted to start with GTA 5. I don't own the game myself. I don't own an Xbox 360 or a PlayStation 3, so I cannot even play it. I would have to buy the whole thing, which I'm not going to do. So I can't really say much about it. The only two people who could now refuse to be part of the podcast. So maybe next time. It will be a little bit late. I mean, this is really the time to talk about GTA 5, but again, can't really say anything about it, apart from the fact that according to Alchemist, who already completed the game, I think he completed it in 28 hours, but to his claim it has like 40 hours of real story-driven content in it, so it's a big game. It has the biggest budget and there's a lot there to enjoy. Hell, right before this, Alchemist started to learn, thanks to 4chan, a bit about the little horror scenario that is going on in San Andreas there in GTA 5, which is, well, it's the little things, it's the details, it's a fun game, and I would love to let those guys talk about it right now, what they like so much, especially compared to the previous generations, but we can't. So GTA 5, sorry, can't talk about it now. We instantly step over to the next subject then, and that is, in this case, Total War Rome 2. And why I want to talk about this? First of all, my history with Total War games is pretty much non-existent. I don't really like the Total War games. I like strategy. I liked when I had the beta to StarCraft 2. I like that. I loved Dawn of War. The original Dawn of War 2 I like a little bit less, but still good. Company of Heroes, Supreme Commander, great games. I like strategy games. But the Total War franchise I never got really into. I tried the demo of pretty much every game that came out from them, but it was always too much, micromanagement. I didn't really like the way it played. Again, I guess there is a fundamental difference in the level of strategic importance, and in that sense I kind of like the more this is just war battle approach of Supreme Commander and Warhammer and Company of Heroes to what Total War has to offer. So I'm not talking here, I've never been a fan of Total War, but regardless of that is not what this is about. I want to talk about this in reaction basically to a review that Angry Joe did on Total War Rome 2, and that is that he had the game from the start, and he is not a reviewer that gets his copies from game companies, or at least not all game companies. I don't know if he maybe figured something out, but he is not really constrained by what companies want, and what companies want are good grades, which is why often you cannot really trust whatever reviewers give a game in terms of grades. I like, for example, game trailers reviews, because they usually show in a video what they mean when they say it. So if they say there are some bugs, you usually see a little bit of a compilation of a few bugs that are in the game. And that way, regardless of what they say, you can kind of decide for yourself if this is something that you find a problem in the game, or if you agree with them or disagree with them, and so you kind of know a bit more if the game is something for you. So I don't really trust blind numbers, and there are certainly some websites who have a very questionable reputation when it comes to rating games, like GameSpot and IGN. Always take their reviews with a grain of salt, please. Regardless, all these companies gave really high grades to Total War Rome 2, whom from this forth I will just refer to as Rome 2. They really have given high grades to Rome 2. And Angry Joe basically said that he does not understand at all where these high grades come from, because he got a copy day one and it was a buggy mess, and he showed that in the review that it was an extremely buggy mess, from simple visual problems to absolute nonsense where boats just went up the land and armies just didn't attack, and you had to wait pretty much literally an hour before they made a move, because it's of course partly turn-based, and if the computer basically doesn't make their turn. You're just sitting there waiting. So clear bugs, and there was a patch release which fixed some stuff, but not a lot. And the reason I bring it up now is because now on Joystick there's an article that says Rome. What does it say exactly? Total War Rome 2 totally patched. Patch 2 for Total War Rome 2 has come ashore, and so the next time you ready your legions for battle, you will automatically download and apply more than 100 changes. So it should be fixed by now. Whether or not it is, I don't know, but again, that's also not what this is about. This is basically about companies staying true to their release date at the expense of the consumer. That's basically what this is about. Used to be, in the good old days, the previous generation consoles, the GameCube, PlayStation 2 and Xbox. Yes, the PlayStation 2 and the Xbox, and even the GameCube actually, on some level, had the capability of doing things online. Only patches, downloading patches to fix games was really something that consoles weren't ready for. It wasn't there. Now it is. Now it is for all the consoles, patches are ready. In that time, not really. So, what is so when a game was being developed for the consoles of old, when a game was being developed, it was crucial that the game was done when it was due on the release date, right? And so what we had then were games being pushed back, release dates not being met because the game wasn't done yet, and they couldn't release it earlier because if it was fucked, it would be fucked for life. Couldn't really risk that. And so yeah, games were pushed back, but in a sense, when the consumer got their hands on the game, it was a done game. Sure, there were still some bugs here and there, but usually it's very minor stuff, nothing really game-breaking unless you have a really bad game in your hands with a company that doesn't give a crap. Nowadays it seems like the mentality is, we have set a release date. Usually these release dates are set very strategically, so in a sense that Battlefield 4 is coming out now, Call of Duty, the next Call of Duty is coming out 2 months from now, so we want to release our game 1 month from now, right in between, so we don't have, or at least have minimal amount of competition from those two. It's a strategic release date, so you don't really compete with those other games for buyers, for clients. So, but now so it used to be, even though your release date might be strategically perfect, they just couldn't release because the game wasn't done. Nowadays, especially with a game like Rome 2, it seems like developers are just like, fuck it, we'll just release the game and let consumers suffer, who buy it first and like, oh, I couldn't wait to get my hands on it, now it's done, here it is, and it's not actually done. And they have to wait until, I would have to check, I'll put it on screen now, from how long it took for patch 2 to come out from the game's release date to then. They had to wait for that amount of time before the game was actually ready to play, so they bought it, perhaps even pre-ordered it, and what they got was just a thing you couldn't play yet. Crap, pretty much a beta test. Now, and this is kind of alarming to me, because Rome 2, Total War, is not a small franchise. Total War is a pretty darn big deal, and yet they fuck us over. And it reminds me of a game that I've actually pre-ordered, that I put on my wish list on Steam, which is called, where is it? Sword of the Stars 2, and Sword of the Stars 2 is another strategy game, and that game came out and got annihilated because it was a buggy mess, and that game has gotten so many patches, like really tons of patches, and yet still it is a mess, and the company has really suffered for it, and the game has really suffered for it in sales. People are not that interested in it anymore because it's apparently still a buggy mess, and so they suffer from it. And that's good, they should, because you cannot release a buggy mess. Sometimes it's a problem, sometimes some unforeseen things happen, like for example what happened with Rage. id Software's Rage game on the PC side was a mess. A lot of textures just didn't load in, and it was apparently a problem with the browser, and it was just a mess, but it wasn't really their fault. For them, apparently, at least if we have to believe them, their product was done, and I kind of believe them in that their product was done, but something came up, with the new drivers that kind of fucked with things, and so it came out as a bit of a broken-ass product that just needed to be patched, and it was quite a disaster. But that is a disaster for reasons of basically a lack of control of the entire situation. Factors are there which honestly have let themselves known, and that became the disaster known as Rage on the PC, the release of Rage on the PC. But yes, many times the company has got the power to just say, alright, it's not done, we'll push it back, and that is really where we should be at. But so I just want to raise this up as a bit of awareness, that the fact that we now have the ability to patch is great, because it means that every last problem that with a game that is there can be fixed eventually. But on the other hand, it supports laziness, it supports a lack of care, it supports the idea of like, who cares that that the game is not done? Let's just bring it out and we'll patch it later. Bring it out now, good timing, people will buy it en masse, we have a little competition, and fuck them, we'll fix it later, and then shit will be good. But it won't be good. So yeah, Total War. Right, after Total War I want to talk, next subject, Steambox. Anyone idea what Steambox is? If you don't, let me inform you. Steambox is basically the Valve initiative to make, for what we see at the moment, this is all speculations, it hasn't really been confirmed, but it's basically what we see is a console made by Valve, the Steambox. A sort of, well, let's get one thing out of the way. Consoles are PCs. Alright, they all are PCs. A console is still a computer. It still uses a motherboard, it still has a processor, it has a graphics processor, it has RAM, it has a hard drive. Same components in a sense, same type of components in a sense that you find in a PC. PlayStation 3 was a bit of an oddball with the cell processor. That was really a bit of a unique piece of technology, and in a sense I'm really sad that they didn't push forward with that. But and now certainly they are a lot more conventional. But yeah, they are PCs, and Steambox, well, the reason I bring it up because there's a new image that was brought out that says the Steam universe is expanding in 2014, and then at the bottom it says, last year we shipped a software feature called Big Picture, a user interface tailored for television and gamepads. This year we've been working on even more ways to connect the dots for consumers who want Steam in the living room. Soon we'll be adding you to our design process so you can help up shape the future of Steam. Basically, they think a lot of the love from console gaming comes from the fact that you can sit on your couch and play it with a gamepad, which of course is already capable with a PC. Let's not fool ourselves. The 360 controller is compatible with a lot of games, and for some games I definitely prefer the controller than the keyboard and a mouse. Even though keyboard and mouse is usually fine, but for most third-person games I prefer a controller. Assassin's Creed, GTA, give me a controller. Gears of War, yeah, keyboard and mouse. What is that other game? Red Faction, keyboard and mouse, yeah. But a lot of games, the controller works. Racing games, for example, if you don't have a racing wheel, which is even better, controller is definitely a lot better than keyboard and mouse. Anyway, so a lot of games are already capable to be controlled with a gamepad. So if you just want, you grab your PC, you put it in your living room, you hook it up to your television via a normal HDMI cable. You can just do that same as a console, HDMI cable, and grab your gamepad and play. It's already possible. But what I think of this is basically my speculation on the Steambox. What I think the Steambox will become. I think the Steambox will become a simple PC, but it will have components in there, probably very smartly thought out to be slightly future-proof. It probably will have a decent processor, a decent amount of RAM, pretty decent graphics card. And what I think from that point on, that the Steambox it will basically show on every game you can buy on Steam. It will probably have a little icon saying if it's Steambox compatible. And that basically means that whatever is in the Steambox can run this game on a good level. So can run this game with maybe they even will, if they are truly committed to this, they will implement a little program that will set up the game to perfection for Steambox. If not, you will have to set it up yourself. But again, it's not really hard work. But yeah, you will have a little PC in your living room that will have probably its pretty special tailor-made operating system that will only make it run Steam and maybe YouTube or stuff like that, same as the consoles do these days. And you can just check there, buy your games there. It will probably tell you again which games are Steambox compatible, and then you can just play them like the Steambox will just be a console playing PC games that are released on Steam. That's is totally what it will become. And so they will probably press developers on the fact that making the game at least run on the Steambox. So like, these are our specifications for the Steambox, make sure the game runs well on Steambox. Maybe that will be a qualification you will need to meet before even bringing games to Steam in the future. You know, maybe they will say, you want your game on Steam? Great, we would love to have your game here. Just make sure it works well on Steambox. That's all we ask. And then of course the rest. But yeah, that's what I'm just bringing it up again because recently they have this thing you see now brought out that once again raises attention to it. Just want to share what I think Steambox will become and how it will work. Am I looking forward to it myself? Not really. You know, I like PC gaming as it is. I don't like sitting on a couch and playing games is fine. I had my consoles previously in another room and we were sitting on a couch or on a bed playing those. Great. I can't say the experience is much better than just sitting here for my television, which I use as a monitor, and playing my games this way. So for me, not really that interested. I'm interested in seeing how it develops, sure, in the tech and all that, but I'm fine with my PC, and I'll probably stay a PC gamer, not a Steambox user. But we'll see. Again, might be very interesting. Maybe it will be financially very interesting to invest in a Steambox. I don't know. Wouldn't that be funny if you could, if you buy a Steambox just because the parts inside are collectively cheaper to buy as a Steambox than buy separately, and then you just take the Steambox apart and take the parts and put it in your PC you're building. Anyway, we'll see how that works out. Right, next subject I want to talk about is the new Sony PlayStation Vita. It's released now. It's pretty much the same price as the old Vita. Differences are, according to Joystick, again, I've played with the PlayStation Vita. This new Vita doesn't have an OLED screen, unlike the old one. It has a normal LCD screen. They say they don't see much of a difference. I think if you put them next to each other, you should see a difference because OLED technology is honestly a lot better than LCD. So in a way, this is less of an interesting product to buy. The new PlayStation Vita is more lightweight. The buttons are slightly raised. There's probably some other stuff in there. I think it's really just a new release for them to save some money on. I think the original Vita, thanks to that OLED screen especially, it's more expensive to make. This one will be cheaper to make, sell for the same, so it's just a way for them to cut price a bit on the Vita by actually cutting down the product a bit. I also wanted to talk a bit about Vita TV, which has been sold out in Japan. There's at this point no release date for the United States or Europe. But I don't really know much about Vita TV. Again, which is why I wanted to have some other people on here to talk about it a bit. Vita TV, as far as I understand it, is basically a PlayStation Vita which is not portable. It's a PlayStation Vita you hook up directly to your TV like a controller, like a console, and you play your Vita games via it on your television screen, and you can actually play those Vita games via a PlayStation 3/PlayStation 4 gamepad that will interface with it in the same way it interfaces with the PlayStation 3 via Bluetooth. It will connect the controller to the Vita TV unit, and you will play your Vita games using the controller on the TV screen. Of course, limitation is the fact that the PlayStation Vita, some games on the PlayStation Vita make use of several buttons or functions that the Vita has, but the PlayStation 3 controller doesn't. So those games are not compatible, but at least a lot are. Over 100 Vita games are compatible. I'm not quite sure what they meant. There are some other possibilities in there as well. It can stream content. So what they showed in the demo video is basically the parents are at the bottom watching TV on a television which is connected to the PlayStation 4. So the boy gets some friends over and they want to play a console, but they're like, oh, my parents watching TV. So what do? They turn on the PlayStation 4, but instead of playing on that TV where the parents are watching TV, they go upstairs to the TV that is hooked up to the Vita TV unit, the Vita console, and the Vita console then streams through the content that the PlayStation 4 is producing. And so basically wireless, the Vita console is connected to the PlayStation 4 console. The PlayStation 4 console streams its footage and everything to the Vita console, which then projects it on the television. So basically you're playing your PlayStation 4 via the Vita console on your television, which is connected to the PlayStation 4 via Wi-Fi. It's a pretty interesting thing. I'm not quite sure if there would be a huge demand for this, if really people find this that interesting, but again, it is sold out in Japan, so they must be doing something right. That is Vita TV. I believe this new PlayStation Vita release, which is not Vita TV again, this new PlayStation Vita release has something to do with Vita TV, but I don't know what, so I'm not too informed on that. Right, so a little bit shorter than last time. I thought I had another subject, but I guess not. It's not a lot happened last week that I want to, or happening close to last week, or something that I was informed by that I want to talk about. So, this was the second podcast. Here's hoping that maybe next week we will actually have some other people joining in who can have their opinion and their vision and their expectations on subjects. And perhaps we can finally talk some sensible things about GTA 5. But again, we'll see next week. So, see you all.